sister returned after 6 years and started dating my husband's cousin, but she became intoxicated and professed her love for him. 6 years ago, I cut connections with my sister Mindy after she regularly flirted with my then-boyfriend, now husband Richard, who was visibly uncomfortable. What made it worse? My parents were uncaring. They pretended like it was entirely natural for my sister to snuggle up to the man I was dating, and assumed it was simply a phase for her. Mindy is my younger sister. I don't think Mindy hated me as much at the beginning. I used to love her so much that being apart seemed impossible. I taught her to ride a bike and we always played together. As we grew up, our personalities became more distinct. I did well in school. But Mindy struggled. She wasn't stupid, but school wasn't easy for her. Since our parents stressed grades, this caused conflict at home. Given Mindy's poor performance, our parents always compared. They'd tell her to try more and perform better, as if I were the standard for her. I understood her frustration, and I can't blame her. Hearing how she wasn't as good as her older sister must have been hard. Although I tried to talk to her and help her with her assignments, she started to withdraw from me after frequent criticism. As teenagers, we had to decide what to do after school. I'm an introvert now, so my evenings were spent studying or reading in my room. As usual, I found consolation in my own company. However, Mindy was always more gregarious. Going out with pals was her happy place. It was her nature to want to go to parties and prom. Our parents would utilize my want to stay home to keep her home too. They said, "Your sister studies at home, why can't you if she doesn't party, why should you?" I knew it was unfair to her. I didn't mind her wanting to have fun, but our parents made me appear like the norm. This simply enraged her. I didn't have the social life she wanted, so she started labeling me boring and a nerd. I could see she hated our parents' rules, but it stung that she yelled at me. I tried to convince her that it wasn't my fault that I wasn't keeping her home, but she knew she couldn't blame our parents, so she yelled at me. I grew increasingly irritated with Mindy. Small disputes became frequent and heated battles. Mindy attacked me with appearance comments. She'd mock my hair, weight, and anything else she could. Her favorite attack was comparing our looks. She laughed and said I looked like our dad, making me uglier than her. "You have dad's nose and shoulders, so no wonder you seem masculine for a woman," she'd say. It ached since I had never considered my body like that before. No matter how many times I told her to stop, she would choose something else. I casually told my mom in front of Mindy that my old jeans didn't fit anymore. It was only a note about my body's evolution. My sympathetic mom told me that it was natural for women's bodies to change and that I shouldn't worry. Mindy took it as an opportunity to attack me. With a grin, she laughed and said, "You're looking like a pig. Maybe this is a hint to get off your fat ass and exercise more." That comment hurt. It felt like a stomach punch. My mom instantly chastised her for being so mean, but Mindy's remarks lingered with me. I wasn't overweight or ill, but hearing that from my younger sister hurt me in a strange way. It was plenty for me. I started working out for myself, not to impress her. I wanted to get stronger and healthier and maybe clear my head with exercise. I started running every morning and doing small dumbbell workouts at home. I found I liked it as I got more involved. My motivation to exercise no longer stemmed from Mindy's advice. I enjoyed building strength and stamina. I looked forward to it. I could release my unpleasant emotions positively. After making that decision, I met my now husband on one of my morning runs. Richard and I bonded over our passion of exercise from the start, and our casual discussions on runs became more serious. I enjoyed daily running with him, and felt safer. Meeting him was one of my nicest experiences, and I wouldn't have done it without starting to take care of myself. When Richard and I started dating and getting serious, my folks were happy to see me happy and liked him. They could tell he was nice and I was falling for him. Although I had only dated one guy before meeting Richard, my relationship with him felt natural and simple. Mindy always found a way to ruin things. Instead of supporting me when I came home excited and joyful from spending time with Richard, she would say things like, "You shouldn't get so happy, he's probably just using you," or "You don't have as much dating experience as I do, so don't get ahead of yourself. Your seriousness and neediness are excessive." It was like Mom couldn't take seeing me happy. Especially with Richard. She urged me to doubt my relationship and think I couldn't deserve him. However, Richard was nothing like she said. He loved me from the start. His promises were always kept, respected me, and promised a future with me. I never doubted his intentions and felt safe and loved with him. So I ignored Mindy's advice. Richard met my family at my parents' place after months of courting. I was nervous but delighted about this significant step. My folks were welcoming, as expected, and seemed to like him right away. The fact that he cared about me was enough to win their acceptance. The evening was perfect except for Mindy. She was flirtatious with Richard, which surprised me because she typically made sarcastic remarks about me in front of him. She was complimenting his appearance or laughing too much at his jokes. She even caressed his arm throughout their chat, which made Richard uneasy. He also moved his chair away from her. My parents seemed unaware of Mindy's actions when I looked at them. I always knew Mindy behaved a certain way around boys. She batted her eyelids, spoke in a girly way, and overall pretended to gain their attention. I wasn't surprised when she did it with guys before, but this time was different. I didn't anticipate her to cross that boundary with Richard, my boyfriend. After Richard left, I told my parents about my unease about her behavior that evening. I told them Mindy had been acting oddly around Richard all evening, but they ignored it. "Oh, come on. It's lovely that your little sister has a modest, harmless crush on Richard," my mom chided me, almost giggling. That presumably suggests she trusts him too. Their reaction, especially my mom's, surprised me. She seemed unconcerned by Mindy's actions. The only thing to her was me. It was much more. It violated boundaries and made me uncomfortable witnessing my young sister blatantly flirt with my partner. I confronted Mindy since my parents wouldn't. When I asked her why she was stroking my boyfriend's arms, she pretended to be innocent. She said she didn't intend anything and only thought Richard cute. "He looked too good for me," she said. I shook my head and told her her antics were unsettling and Richard had noticed how weird she was around him. I told her to stop acting creepy around him. Hearing this, her face grew red, and I knew my remarks had hurt her. She was enraged and stormed into her room, slamming the door without apologizing or explaining. I knew I embarrassed her, but I didn't regret addressing her. I wouldn't allow her hurt Richard or make me insecure. I stopped bringing Richard home after this happened and became cautious around my sister. He also admitted to feeling uncomfortable around Mindy. He and I were accepted into colleges roughly an hour apart when it was time to go to college. It was sad to be far apart, but he promised me we would make it work, and I trusted him. Before I departed for college, Mindy told me to stop expecting Richard and that men love to cheat in college. Richard and I survived her criticisms and our long-distance relationship. Even though we were miles apart, we communicated daily, planned visits, and stayed close. Richard told me Mindy had made him a Facebook friend request during one of our calls. He accepted without hesitation because she was my sister. It wasn't altogether unexpected. However, Mindy instantly messaged to him. Richard immediately informed me since it felt weird. Considering Mindy hadn't contacted me since I left for college, she never phoned or contacted me. Mindy would yell at my mom if she tried to talk to me. She suddenly texted my boyfriend? It was illogical. Richard visited me at college a few days after our talk and showed me all her messages. Scrolling through them, I saw that he never responded, while she texted him daily. Even without a response, she'd send good morning handsome or good night messages with a love emoji thinking of you. In addition, she started commenting on his posts, calling him hot or dropping a rose emoji. Richard and I agreed that something had to be done because it was too much. I called Mindy to confront her with Richard at my side. I directly questioned her why she was texting Richard behind my back. She initially dismissed it, stating she wanted to check on him. That reason didn't work for me. I told her she had no right to text my boyfriend like that and could have checked on him through me. She had no cause to act this way behind my back. I called her a creep for sending him repeated texts when he was ignoring her. I told her Richard would unfriend her, and that if she harassed him again, I would email all the messages and remarks to our parents and relatives. I wanted her to see how out of line she was, and if she wanted to keep messaging her elder sister's boyfriend, she should explain herself to the family. She then defended herself, offering me justifications that it wasn't a big thing. Richard surely didn't mind receiving her messages, and he must be lying by stating he was uncomfortable. I reminded her of her final warning. I advised her to quit immediately if she respected me to avoid escalating things. Richard supported me throughout, and after that talk he unfriended her instantly and looked pleased to be done with her since he found it strange too. It felt vital to prevent her destructive conduct from entering our connection. After the Richard incident, Mindy and I's already fragile relationship worsened. Even though she never contacted Richard again after that argument, she was clearly resentful of me. She ignored me whenever I came home during college breaks. It was as if she didn't know I existed, and our sisterly relationship ended. Though they saw the change, my parents didn't intervene. Even after learning everything, my mom would tell me that sister conflicts are natural, and that Mindy will grow up and get over her harmless obsession on Richard. She felt sure this was a phase and Mindy and I will reconcile. We never did. College ended, and I graduated. After years of long-distance dating, Richard and I moved in together. Life seemed to be falling into place. Despite our different jobs, we supported each other through life's challenges. One day, Richard proposed and shocked me. It was one of my most emotional times. It was hard to believe we were taking this next step after so much. Our parents were thrilled, and we eagerly planned the wedding. My mom, hoping we could reconcile, demanded I invite Mindy to the wedding. Even though I was hesitant, she convinced me to ask her to be a bridesmaid. Mindy refused to be a bridesmaid when I asked. I got no explanation. Additionally, she declined my wedding invitation. Our parents attempted to help, but Mindy insisted. I was pleased she didn't attend the wedding because it eliminated drama, so I let go. It had been 6 years since I had seen Mindy. Life carried on and I rarely thought of her. That was until 7 months ago, when my husband Richard casually stated one evening that he had just discovered that his cousin Harry had put a photo on social media with his new girlfriend. To his surprise, the girl was my sister Mindy. He showed me the image, and I was shocked. The idea that Mindy would date Richard's relative surprised me. They met and started dating, without my knowing they were in the same circles. I immediately wondered if Mindy did this on purpose. After everything that had happened between us, especially her peculiar focus on Richard, I felt like there was more to this. Needing clarity, I contacted Harry directly. We'd always gotten along, so I felt comfortable asking him what was up. Harry told me he met Mindy at a gym months earlier and struck it off. He appeared smitten with her. I kept the discussion light. But I had to ask, did he know Mindy was my sister? He confessed after a few dates, but Mindy had requested him not to mention her to me, so he never contacted me or Richard. That raised major concerns for me. Why does she want to hide her friendship with Harry from me? I felt compelled to inform Harry about my estranged Mindy. I detailed her years of animosity and how she violated boundaries with Richard, and why I cut off all touch with her. I told him about her strange fixation with Richard and how uncomfortable it made us both. Harry should know why this circumstance was so strange for me, so I didn't hold back. I hoped he would consider my worries or listen openly. Harry reacted defensively. He appeared furious that I brought this up. He said Mindy was always pleasant to him, and that I was probably embellishing earlier situations. He didn't believe me, leaving me frustrated and hurt. After hearing about my talk with Harry, my spouse was furious too. He vehemently told me not to interfere in their relationship because it was none of our concern. I said that my goal was to protect Harry and inform him about Mindy's history and troubles. I sincerely wished him safety and no harm. Richard insisted that I embrace their true love because Harry seemed pleased with her. He also suggested we give Mindy the benefit of the doubt because she may have changed after all these years. For Richard, I set aside my worries about Mindy. After their social media reveal, Harry and Mindy have been dating more openly. Our parents, though initially apprehensive, believe Harry's explanation that he met Mindy in his gym by chance. Richard and I have distanced ourselves from them and rarely attend family gatherings. Harry refused to let us miss his housewarming party this weekend. Apparently he moved in with Mindy. Richard and I were initially hesitant to come. We unwillingly went since we didn't want to break up the family. Things broke apart immediately when we arrived at the party. Harry was giddy with love, claiming he and Mindy were destined for each other. He was ecstatic, but Mindy seemed indifferent. I saw her glancing at Richard once or twice, but she never came over to talk. I noticed Mindy drinking more than the other visitors as the evening went on. Mindy got a chance to be alone with Richard when he excused himself to use the bathroom. She followed him and tried to talk. Richard thought she wanted to talk alone, but he assured her she could say whatever she wanted in front of me. Mindy, inebriated, began openly declaring her feelings to Richard in the hallway, her speech slurring. She informed him she had always loved him and done everything she could to be near him. She accused him of selecting me while she was prettier. Her voice grew louder and more furious. Her loud rant was heard by other guests. Harry checked on her before I could react as I stood up. Unfortunately, he heard Mindy's confession to Richard clearly. As he realized the truth, his expression showed astonishment and pain. I could see people muttering, wondering how to react to the drama happening in front of them. The atmosphere was tense. As usual, Richard handled everything gracefully. Mindy should not have said these things to him, and he told her that her feelings were untrue. He always loved me, so it didn't matter. That infuriated her more, and she sobbed unashamedly. Harry sought to take Mindy away from everyone to avoid embarrassment. Richard and I decided to leave the party. The tension was too high, and staying would be pointless. We learnt that Harry and Mindy had a huge argument in front of everyone after we departed. Mindy, drunk and enraged, caused pandemonium. Attacked Harry with plates and glasses while he dodged her and demanded to know why she loved Richard. Everyone present must have been horrified. Harry's parents contacted me shortly after. They were furious and wanted to talk. I repeated everything I told Harry. Mindy had a peculiar infatuation with my husband, even though Richard had never expressed interest in her, and probably befriended Harry for that reason. I told them to talk to Harry and convince him. Harry's parents called again. After consulting with his parents, Harry tried to split up with Mindy, but she didn't like it. As retribution, Mindy trashed his flat, flung stuff about, scratched Harry's car, and threw glitter everywhere. She packed everything and went, leaving Harry with a mess since only his name was on the lease. Harry's parents were furious and insisted that I phone my sister immediately since she wasn't answering. I had to make Mindy pay all the damages, too. I repeated my attempt but doubted she would answer. His parents threatened to sue me and her if I didn't make sure she paid the bills. Their reaction shocked me. I tried to tell them I had informed them and Harry about Mindy's behavior and had no control over her. Harry's mom said that I should have warned them better. As her sister, I should also be accountable for the harm. For not warning Harry and his parents sufficiently, AITA? Should I have done more? Update 1. I'm shocked my post went viral. When he got home from work, Richard promised to talk to his family and resolve issue. He told me not to worry because I wasn't legally responsible for my sister's behavior. Richard also apologized for not trusting me when I warned him about my sister marrying his cousin. Many have asked, but my husband has never had an affair with my sister. He's never been alone with her. If anything had transpired between them, my sister would have told everyone long ago. I don't know if Mindy loves my husband. Her infatuation with my husband may arise from long-standing insecurities and sibling rivalry. I assume her inappropriate behavior toward him is about competing with me and lowering my enjoyment. My sister has become my worst enemy, which is strange. Update 2. My parents will pay for all Mindy-related damages. My sister came to them in tears after her separation and has been living with them for days. My parents apologized to Harry and his parents immediately after I told them Mindy had damaged Harry's place. They are unhappy with Mindy and will pay for repairs. Mindy is lucky Harry won't charge her. Harry's parents called to apologize for their rudeness. They said they weren't thinking clearly and didn't intend it. I gently accepted their apology since I understand how they felt after my sister did. Update 3. A month has passed since my last update. For everyone wondering what happened to Mindy and if she was punished, my dad firmly believes she has one month to find her own apartment and leave them. My sister has never worked and has always lived with my parents or her ex-boyfriends for financial support, so this will be interesting. My mother no longer excuses Mindy's actions and seems done with her. After paying Harry hundreds of dollars for her damages, my parents are dissatisfied. Anyway, Richard and I are okay. My sister's separation from Richard's family is a huge relief.